Hey everyone, welcome to this edition of Keeping It Real with Shana Recker. And today I have a new friend, Mastermind. I don't know, what do we call each other? Mastermind friends, I guess.
Buddy, yes.
Mastermind buddies. Christina. And Christina, how do you pronounce your last name? Just so I don't mess it up.
Liqueur,
Licuyer, just like it sounds, just
just
like
like
it
it
looks.
sounds. Yeah.
Yeah, so we met in the Fast Foundations Mastermind, which we're both a part of, and I love that. I love that these masterminds allow us to create these amazing relationships. And Christina is a professional golfer, so you're a professional athlete. I need to know about this three-time reality television thing, so we're definitely going to touch on that. So you're a professional golfer. You're also a life coach, a speaker. You've got an amazing mastermind and this women's weekend thing that's coming up that I can't wait to talk about. So you've also, I love the charitable piece that you do as well. You've raised millions of dollars for charities using your skills as a human connection specialist. I know it's a mouthful, but it's amazing. I think it's awesome to facilitate business relationships via the golf course. So that's so cool. That's really interesting. I'd love to talk more about that. You've got clients that have, you've got Forbes CEOs, Wallstreet executives, global, like you're doing it all, and it sounds amazing, and I can't wait to chat about this. And I'd love to hear, because the best thing that you have here on your bio, and I'm not reading it word for word obviously, but the one thing that I loved on here is that you have a passion for inspiring people to really live a life they truly love. And I am all about that, sister. So I want to just kind of touch on it all and just share you with the Keeping It Real audience. So welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I greatly appreciate it. I'm so thankful every time someone kind of reads bits and pieces of that bio. It's definitely something that has happened over time. And I have had so many ups and downs along the way. But when you kind of hit on all the highlights, it's a lot of fun, and I'm extremely grateful for it. And like you said, I am extremely passionate about encouraging people to live a life that they love now, because I'll be honest with you, it wasn't always like that. This has really only been in the past probably 7 years now that I've really actually truly living my purpose and living my ideal life. And I'm so thankful that I've been able to kind of make some transitions in actually listening to myself, and then now helping other people do the same. So I'm unbelievably blessed that is actually what I get to do on a daily basis. And I'm thankful. Thanks for having me. I appreciate
Yes,
it.
no, I love it. And this is exactly the kind of stuff that I want to talk about on here, because it's all about inspiring people who are maybe unhappy living or working in something that is just like, that feeling every day you show up. Like I used to have that in my corporate world, and I'd be like, oh, it just doesn't feel right. And so teaching them how to make those transitions. So take us back, because obviously you've had some transitions. You started,
Yeah.
and maybe there's something even before professional golfer, but let's start. Where did your journey, how did it go from, switching gears into coaching and inspiring women and all that? I'd love to hear that part of your story.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm actually originally from Canada as well, Edmonton,
Yay!
Alberta. Yay, Canadian, eh? I now live in Arkansas, so I can say "a" and "y'all" in the same sentence. It's a
I love it.
But actually, I got from Canada to Arkansas, played college golf here. And I took up golf late in life. I got very good very fast, and I was encouraged to go to college. And I thought that was just going to be like the best thing in the whole entire world. Well, I soon got caught up in the story that my worth and value in this world and my identity was playing golf, how much money I made, how I looked, who my clients were, and what I was kind of checking off the boxes. And so I had a really successful college career. After that, I turned professional, because that's what I thought I was supposed to do. I was going to turn professional. I was going to be this pro golfer, and I was going to be so happy, make oodles of money, and my life was going to be perfect. And it wasn't. It was, I love the competition of the game of golf. I still am I have such a love for the game of golf now, because my worth and who I am is not just golf. I've had to learn that, because for a very long time I was stuck in the circle of believing that if I wasn't winning, if I wasn't looking a certain way, if I wasn't making a certain amount of money, if I wasn't checking these boxes, I was not enough. And so I have ran into this with a lot of professional athletes. However, when I started transitioning to my career to where I was hosting, and companies would hire me to play golf with executives, or hire me to, help play golf and raise money and help raise money for charities. And I've been very, very blessed that that is really what I loved. I love the human connection side of it. So I call myself a human connection specialist, whatever, but I love it. But you know what? It was basically using a talent that I had, something that I enjoyed so very much, actually getting to know a human being. You know, at the end of the day, all humans are exactly the same. They want to be heard. They want to be loved. And if I was able to, you know, cuss like a sailor, gamble like a boy, get out on the golf course and hang with the dudes, but I was also able to kind of tap into the human side of them and get to know what they truly loved. I was able to have a very successful career doing that because it was more than just the surface level. Yes, I was a good golfer. Yes, I looked a certain way, but at the end of the day, I was really able to connect on a human level. And that's the reason why I had so much success in that. So I kind of took playing professional golf to, I wasn't good enough really at the end of the day anyway, to be extremely successful playing for a living. I got very successful doing what I did. And then my life started to shift basically when I was about 27, 28. I was like, okay, I'm no longer okay with not being okay. And so I really dove into self-development. You know, I listened to every podcast, read every book, hired every coach, went to all the masterminds. I dove in so hard. Well, that shifted my life, you know, more than anything in the whole entire world. And totally, there's nothing else. I am, you know, like you say, I have my own women's mastermind. I am a life coach, mindset coach, whatever the heck you want to call it. You don't even have to call it coach. Whatever that looks like to you. I have this women's live event because I truly believe more than anything else. And I talk about it, you know, I'm BE Christina on social media, and every day I get on there and I preach there's nothing more important than surrounding yourself with those in which you vibrate the highest with, those in which you want to be like, those in which who are like, hey, me too. Because at the end of the day, truly, we're all just human. We all just want to feel loved, connected, and cared for. And by showing up every single day and getting in the rooms with these people, it's the most important thing that you can do. I just did it for a long time via the golf course. So that's kind of like my story. And so once I started shifting my life, once my mind became abundant, people noticed and my vibration got higher, and people were like, hey, I have a question. How are you able to make so much money on the golf course? How are you able to hang with the dudes without, you know, having a successful, you know, my relationship with my husband is one of my most important things. Like, you haven't kind of followed all the rules. How have you been able to do this? And that's kind of when I slowly got it into the coaching. And now I'm kind of, you know, 75% in this world, the speaking, coaching, mastermind world, and about 25% in the golf world. But it is the funnest thing ever now because golf is just such an escape, a release, and it's so fun to me now.
Now it's fun. It's not
it wasn't a job, and my value in life of who I was as a human being is not connected to the external, whether I shoot, you know, 65 or 85, my happiness does not depend on that anymore, even though I am extremely competitive.
And I want to ask you about that. So how did you know, and what was coming up for you in that moment when you started to be aware the fact that you were putting so much value on how you perform, like your worth was tied into the golf game? Like, because I think a lot of people have that kind of struggle, but they don't recognize it. You know what I mean? And it's like, what was that moment like for you? Or how did you know that that's what you were doing? Like putting your worth in that?
Well, because I was miserable. I had an eating disorder. I was completely upset all the time. I always was striving for that next atta girl. And I talk about those like atta girls that are like, I had to make another dollar. I had to lose another pound. I had to get another job. I had to, you know, get another client. I had to, you know, finish in the top, whatever. If I wasn't winning, I wasn't succeeding. It was just consistently, it was never enough. Like there was always just one more thing that I had to do in order to be happy. Like if I just got that one more thing. And I actually learned that, sadly, a lot of my clients, some of the most successful people on the planet, tied themselves so heavily to what they do for a living, for a job, for a career. And like very, 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 very successful human beings have the same exact worry of, what happens if this all disappears? I disappear. And for me now, knowing that like I talk about this all the time. I don't know if you can cuss on this podcast.
Hey, it's called real, man. You can
Okay,
swear like you can do it all.
Okay, good. I cuss like a sailor, but one of my, my hashtag, I have 3 hashtags that I use every single day. Live a life that you love, which I'm, talking about, but just be, because my handle is Be Christina. It didn't always used to be, because my goal every day is to show up and be my most authentic self, whether that's speaker Christina, wife Christina, golfer Christina, whatever that is, but being myself. And I am worthy AF. So worthy as fuck.
I love it.
Worthy AF.
And you wear those sweatshirts.
Yeah, girl. I wear the sweatshirt, I wear the hat, I wear the t-shirts. Yeah. They sell like hotcakes. I actually got to mail some out this afternoon.
Oh my God, I love it.
My work, like, I'm worthy whether or not I'm sitting here kicked back, whether I'm winning a golf tournament, whether I have $1 million in my account. Like, once you kind of realize that you are worthy without all of the external, then I can show up and be the best version of myself every single day, because I'm not so afraid and fearful of not being enough. And I feel like at the end of the day, like, when you go, like, I'm doing this live event in Austin, and I was just at, Lori's event, and I was just at Lindsay's event and Carrie's event, and all of these women's events that I attend. Everyone in the room has the same fears. So many of us have the same fears that we are not good enough, whether that's because our career isn't good enough, our look isn't good enough, our kids aren't good enough. We just live in this constant mode of not good enough. And once you kind of get to, and it doesn't mean that, like, I don't have bad days. It doesn't mean that I'm not fearful sometimes, but overall, my inner being, my inner peace realizes that whether I'm 10 pounds heavier or $100,000 less in finances, I'm still worthy AF.
Yeah.
So,
and and I think that comes from, and I talk about this a lot, is about creating an awareness around your thoughts, right? So it's like, I think there's, like I said, people go on autopilot, and they're not listening to what's going on in their mind. They're not hearing the self-talk. They're not hearing all of those things. And so that's when they stay tied into the whole, my worth is wrapped into my golf game or my whatever. And so it's like, you've got to create an awareness around what you're thinking about, so that you can recognize those things and then make the shifts, the changes. So it's like, for you, would you say like it was like almost like one day you woke up and was like, wait a minute, I'm hearing myself say that I'm not worth anything unless I, hit the ball in the hole, or unless I do this sort of thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's recognizing that.
Totally. Now, with my clients who have done the exact same things, like, they hear these things, they're like, oh my gosh, that's me. I talk about, like, re-recording that VHS tape. So, we've all recorded these VHS tapes, and it doesn't mean like our families are bad, but that's what you grew up with, and it's your decision. Everything's a choice. My event's called Decide It's Your Turn. I talk about choices every single day. You and I have a choice every single moment on how we react, what we do, but it is your choice ultimately to change the story in which you've told yourself over and over and over again. I'm not telling you it's one day you wake up and like understand, oh, I got to change all these stories. Hey, no problem. I'll just do that. It's a consistent showing up every single moment. When you're having a fat day and you put on your pants and you're like, oh my God, I'm not good enough. And it's a consistent choice to be like, no, I am good enough. It just is a moment in time. And this has nothing to do with who I am.
Yeah, and what I'm worth, and
what I'm worth, and my value, and who I am. I have amazing qualities. And if you were supposed to have a quality that, I believe wholeheartedly that if you were supposed to have, this quality, you probably would have had it to be the most abundant version of yourself.
Yeah. And I think that, like, we go through the things, whether it be the weight issues or the things or whatever it is that we go through, we overcome them. And we're given that for a reason, because we overcome those things so that we can learn something from it. And then we either help other people in that sort of space, or, like, we become the online coach, or we, there's something that we need to learn for ourselves in order to grow and get to that next place. And so I think that, there's the things that we're given, whether it be the weight issues or the things, there's a lesson in those things for us. And we have to, like, go through it and learn it and figure it out, kind of thing.
Oh, I love it. I say all the time, like, things are happening for you, not to you.
Yeah.
And so everything is happening for you. And I know that, like, I was doing a speaking engagement a couple of weeks ago, and I said, I am really sorry right now, because if you're hearing this and that I'm saying to you, this is happening for you, and you want to come up on the stage and punch me in the face, because right now it feels really shitty. I totally get it. Like, I have been there where I've heard that and I was just like not in the space to receive it. But on the other side of that, I promise everything is happening to you. And my life is far from roses. I'm sure yours is either. And there's moments where we were like, this cannot be happening. How is this happening? But in the moment, sometimes it's really hard to see. And you may never have the reason. You know, people who have lost people close to them or children or spouse, like, you can almost, like, you may never find out, but I promise everything is happening for you. I've had a lot of really, really horrible things happen in my life. And I can now say, I'm like, there's this one thing has come from that. That learning lesson has come from that. And in the moment, it's really hard. And I get it. But it is happening for you.
And there's a strength that comes from overcoming. And I mean, not some of those things we never completely overcome, but there's a strength that you gain in continuing on, even though, right? Instead of sitting in that and just living, you know, because again, it comes down to choice. You have a choice to let this take you down, or you have a choice to like, let this, you know, strengthen you and keep moving, and then use what you've learned to help other people and support other people, or do whatever it is that, you know, it leads you to, but you definitely have to take the steps. I love that you have this event coming up, and there's a couple things. So let's talk about the event really quick. And if you can share some details around it and what it's about, because there's a few things on your website that I really want to discuss, because I think that there's some really valuable points on here. So just go over the event and who it's for, where it is, and all the things, and then let's chat about that.
Sure. The event's called Decide It's Your Turn. It's in Austin, Texas, May 16th through 18th. And it is for every single woman who is ready to say, it's my turn. And that could mean it's my turn to start the job, get out of the job, get in the relationship, get out of the relationship, lose the 10 pounds, change the way you talk to yourself. I don't care what it is, but I am the biggest believer on the planet. You know, like I said, if you follow me on social, I talk about it every single day, but you have got to make the decision. You've got to declare it to the universe. You've got to say, I am deciding that this will happen. And then what happens is you have to get in the room. You have to have the accountability, because we've all gone to some action. Exactly. That is the number one thing. We've all gone to an event, and I'm telling you, live events, there is nothing more impactful than being in the room. And you are going to come home from this. You've done a mastermind before. I'm not preaching to the choir here, but
some of the people that are listening to this have never taken that step in their life before. And it's so important.
It's so important. And people are like, oh, you're just trying to sell it. Yes, I am 100% trying to sell it, because I am telling you, there has been nothing more impactful in my life than getting in the room. And this is a true story. One of the very first events I ever went to, I have spoken in front of hundreds of golfers. I have, you know, done all of the things, but one of my first self-development conferences, I remember flying, and it's a huge, and I get it. Like, I want every woman who thinks that this might be for them, I want you to hear from me that I know it's a commitment, not only financially, time-wise, away from your family, away from your job, but you are the most important thing. If you don't take care of yourself, no one else gets taken care of to the best of the ability. But I remember one of the first events I ever went to, I spent, you know, a couple $1,000s going, travel, the whole bit, time away from my husband, time away from my job. And I remember before the VIP party, sitting in my car for like 45 minutes. And you and I were just discussing this before we got on. Chris Harder in our mastermind, he made a video telling everyone, listen, if you are nervous, it is normal. And I'm like, now I'm like one of those things that I'm like super excited. I'm not nervous really at all. But 6 years ago, Christina was dying in my car, so afraid, because I was telling myself all the bullshit stories, which are all stories, that I wasn't good enough, that everyone else had it together, that I shouldn't have been there, that
the ego trying to keep you safe.
Oh, absolutely.
From growing.
100%. And so if there's any inkling in you to have to do an event like this, I am encouraging you so much, just go, because every person in that room is going to open arms with you so much. And there is one person that you are going to find that will change everything. There is one.
Change you.
it'll change you to your DNA. And there are speakers that are coming. Not every speaker is probably going to touch you, but one speaker is going to say one thing that is going to shift everything. And I can always remember every event I go to where there's been one thing or one person. Some of my best friends are from when I've gone into masterminds or gone to live events. I mean, I'm telling you, it's one of the most impactful things that you can ever do. And, you know, we have amazing speakers. It's going to be a ton of fun. It's going to be a whole, like, Thursday through Sunday or Thursday through Saturday. It's all of the fun stuff, but it's really the most impactful thing that you can do.
And I love that. And here's the thing about deciding, because when I did my first big mastermind group, it was a price point that, and I was actually going through a really horrible financial situation at the time. And I knew that I needed this in order for myself to grow. And so what happens, you guys, if you're listening to this and go, yeah, that's all great, but I don't have the money. When you decide to that this is something that you need and you're going to do, and you make the commitment, you buy the ticket, even if you just start by buying the ticket, the resources and the people and the places and the things that you need in order for you to get there and make it happen will start to show up once you make the decision. And that's what happened with me, right? Like I decided, I made the first installment, and then the next idea came and the next thing came. And then I launched my own mastermind, and then the money showed up, and I made the exact amount of money I needed to pay for that mastermind within a matter of 2 months of starting that whole thing. So if that's, you know, right?
I love it. I was like, oh my God, can we rewind that? And can I video that for my Instagram? Because that is so freaking epic.
I'll send you the recording.
Please do. I need to post that right now because it is unbelievably, I have an elite mastermind. So this is like a Decide It's Your Turn women's weekend, you know, a couple hundred women, going to be amazing. Just 3 days. It's very inexpensive, but there always has, I'm a firm believer that there always has to be an investment. Always.
Absolutely.
And it has to be difficult for a little bit, because if not, you're not fully involved. You know, you and I, we do things, $6,000 for like five calls. You know what? Had to do it. Want to know why? Level up. You have to every time. But one of the girls in my elite mastermind, which I do July through November, it's like a 5-month mastermind. She told me she couldn't do it. She was like, I'm not saying no. I'm not saying no. I'm not saying no. This is a true statement. It makes me cry almost every time. She got a tax return check for the almost exact amount that she needed, because the universe provides once you decide.
Absolutely, 100%.
You have to take action.
The more you invest, the more value you get back. I always find that too. Like I buy a $97 course online, 90% of the time, I haven't even opened it. But when I spent the money to do Chris Harder, that first call, I was waiting 10 minutes before the Zoom started. I was like, great, let's go, let's do this, right? Like you invest more of yourself into it, you get more out of it. There's so much value in that. And
100%.
We both been through it. Okay. So on the weekend retreat topic, a couple of things that on your page, and you guys, I'm going to put the links for all of this stuff in the show notes and everything, so you guys can find it. But for Decide It's Your Turn, you know, you have these questions on here, and you say, ask yourself if any of these sound familiar. And the first one is this is a great idea, but I could never actually do it. And the reason I want to touch on this and hear your thoughts on this is because so many women who are listening to this right now, and I was one of them before I started my coaching business, I was like a network marketer. This was my gig. And I was like, but I wanted to do coaching, but I don't have a coaching certificate. Do I need to go to, you know, whatever? And like, can I actually do this? And then I just said, fuck it. Like, why can't I do it? And I just started taking steps and hired the people and did the things. And here we are today, 3 years later. And it's just been the most fulfilling, successful thing ever. So your thoughts on all of that?
100,000,000%. You said it so unbelievably perfectly. It's like I do a Q&A. It's called Q&A a day. And it's a question. It's a book of questions. My husband and I have been doing it for like 6 years. And we've been doing it for longer than that. But 6 years, I wrote, I want to help other women not feel the same way that I felt. I want to help other women get across these hurdles. I want to help other women do these things. Do you know what happened? I wrote it for like 4 years. I took no action on it because I was telling myself all of the stories that all of you are telling yourselves about why you can't do the thing. Yeah. Guess what? There's a million people in this world doing the thing. You know, one of my clients asked me the other day, they're like, you know, I really probably shouldn't get into that coaching. I was like, you know what? You are out of your mind. because
Yeah.
I told myself that same exact story. Well, someone else is already doing it. Someone else is already, there's billions of people in this world, and someone needs you for something. If it is in your heart, even just a little bit, if you feel like any type of calling towards that, you have got to stop telling yourself the stories, because they're just all stories. And once you tell the universe and literally put it out there and start taking action, I even tell my people, like my coaching people, I'm like, just take yourself 15 minutes a day, block 15 minutes a day to do one thing every single day. Is it going to add up in a week? Probably not. A month? Maybe not. But 1 year from now, you're going to look back at those 15 minutes, 365 days, and guess what? You're going to be a hell of a lot closer, and you're going to be a hell of a lot happier.
Yeah.
That is the key too. You know, a lot of people sometimes get caught up on it. Can I do this, and will it become a career? You know what? A lot of times you have got to do the side hustle, do the passion, because it makes you happy before it ever produces a penny. And it may never produce a penny, but you know what? If it's making you happy, why aren't you doing it?
Yeah, you had, and the reason you got the idea in the first place to do the thing is because you were meant for it.
Amen.
Like, you wouldn't have gotten that idea or that thought if it wasn't something that you could actually do. And I love that. And so it's like, if you're sitting on something and you're feeling it in your heart and it's tugging on you, you've got to start exploring it at the very least, you know. And
all of our speakers at the event, we have 8 speakers, 8 keynote speakers, and they are all like over 1 million followers in all of these speakers. I have a doctor of psychology out of New York who's written a book, been on the Today Show, millions, you know, Angie Lee, marketing guru. I have Jill Coleman, who's been in the industry for 25 years. I have Jenna Scare, who has like 600,000 followers. I mean, the women that are coming to this event, one of my best friends, Lindsay, she started her company just a couple of years ago. And one of my girlfriends, Erin, started and it's not all online, and it's not all business. The weekend is really a good combination of mindset, motivation, as well as tangible ideas that you can take and implement yourself. And because my whole thing is about creating a community. So right now we have a Facebook group. Even if you're interested, just join the Facebook group right now, decidei'tsyourturn.com. Just get in there, start finding those high vibe women. And then once you do, the universe will open up the opportunities 100%.
Absolutely. And for those who are sitting there thinking, yeah, well, there's so many people already doing what I want to do. The thing is that people will relate to me differently than they'll relate to Christina, then they'll relate to you. And so you got to just show up and be you. And the ones that will relate to you, you'll attract in the right people. And there is enough people for everyone. So you just have to know that. You just have to know that. Okay. So I love this one too. And I think this is a huge one we need to talk about. And I think it's one of the most common things is, what will my friends and family think? What if I do this? Like, what if I leave my job and start this thing? Or what if I, you know, whatever it is, life stuff, business stuff, whatever, if I make this change, what's going to happen? What are my friends and family going to think? And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. And you know what, even if it's not like quitting your job and moving on to the thing, you know, when I first started my Instagram, you know, if you follow me on Instagram, be Christina, my Instagram is very authentic. It's very real. I tell very real stories. I'm not saying everyone has to do that. However, I remember when like about 3 years ago, when this kind of all started, I started giving a little more and a little more and a little more. And I'll be honest with you, I had family and friends give a bit of kickback. Like, why are you posting that? Why are you doing that? But at the end of the day, I have such boundaries on my life, and I have such, like, I am 100% passionate about being the most authentic version of myself. You know, do I put out every single thing that I do? Probably not, but 90% of it probably, and because that's just who I am having to show up. And so I just have to know that, like, me being my most authentic self, it may not resonate with everyone. Everyone may not like it. But at the end of the day, I have got to be me, because I know nothing else besides being my most authentic self and showing everyone that, like, yes, my life is great 70% of the time. It's a shit show 30% of the time. And I'm happy to voice that, because I never want to be that person that says, oh yeah, I've got it all together, when I'm literally dying inside. And I want people to know, like, the reality of it. But you're always going to have kickback. You're always going to have people who, you know, at the end of the day, I'm not, like you said, I'm not for everyone. I just had an email today from a woman that I've got to deal with. And she's like, I just don't resonate with you. You know what? That's okay. And I have zero qualms about it. I'm like, I don't resonate with everyone either. Yeah. No problem. There's a button. It's blue. Unfollow. No problem. Yeah. Like,
true.
It's totally okay. But at the end of the day, I have got to be my most authentic self. And if me being my most authentic self doesn't serve the other people, I can be respectful to it, but I have to show up as my most authentic version of myself. And it's my highest vibration of myself.
I love it. And here's the thing, haters are always going to hate.
Always.
And if you have haters, or you have, I hate to say haters, it sounds so, but if you have people who are unfollowing you or giving you, you know, slack and all those things, it means you're doing something. Like, you're creating waves out there, and there's always going to be one or two people who don't agree with it, and that's okay. But you're doing something. That's amazing, right? Like, if, you know, for every time I have somebody who posts something negative or unfollows me, like, think of people like Lewis Howes and all of those like ginormous, you know, entrepreneurs who are putting themselves out there, like how many they must be getting. Like, you know, it's not all roses for them either, right? So you just know that you're making some sort of an impact, and those people are always just going to come along for the ride, right? There's just always going to be a certain amount that do that kind of thing. And I'm fully with you. And I think the more that you show up authentically as yourself, there's this saying that's like, it's scary at first, it's messy in the middle, and it's beautiful in the end. Like, when you first really come out, especially like with Instagram and Insta stories, and you're having to be live and you're saying all the things, it's scary. It's scary to first like kind of put yourself out there. And it's not always a perfect thing. Like, I say something sometimes where I'm like, I get off and I'm like, did I actually say that? Like, did that even make sense? Whatever. Yeah. And it's kind of messy. But then when you get to that place where you can do that, like, I see your Insta stories, they're amazing. And you just show up and you just deliver, and you don't care. And you just like say it, right? And it's beautiful there, because I bet you feel so fulfilled about what you're doing in that space, right? Like, it's like a process.
My whole thought is that I could be a fake person and people would like me or hate me, or I could be my most authentic self, the person I was put on this planet to be. Like, I literally am the biggest compliment. And it's not even a compliment really anymore, because people used to say to me, oh my God, you're exactly the same as you are on social media. I'm like, I literally have such boundaries on social media. I know I am on Instagram all the time, like showing up on Instagram, but I am like actually the really shitty person who's like not liking and commenting that much, because I am not really on social media all that often, because I literally do not want to escape into someone else's reality unless I feel like I can really truly learn from them, or I'm like vibrating with them and I want to support them. But at the end of the day, like, I want to have nothing to do with people who on Instagram who are just like not really their most authentic selves, because like I just don't need that. Like, I am busy enough. I have enough awesome humans in my life, like real people, that I don't have to like visit that. And I'm not saying it's bad or good, but just for myself personally, like I could get people liking me and not liking me if I was faking it or if I'm being real. So I might as well just be myself, because like that doesn't take that much effort. It's just who I am.
And that's the thing, to be yourself and show up is way easier. It's going to take less energy. You're going to have more, I always find that when I am really truly like being authentic, like, and I always try to be, but sometimes, you know, you're like making sure things are good and your hair's in place and all the things. But like, when I really get into the space, like the heart space, and I'm delivering something, whether it's a live or I'm doing a thing, like, that's where my best stuff comes out. That's where my most, and it's in that authentic place that it shows up. And I find if you're being fake, like, that takes way too much energy. It's too much thought. You're like, it doesn't come out the same way, you know?
You just need to be in flow, like your actual most authentic version of yourself, the highest version of yourself. You know, our highest version, like, we were put on this purpose on this planet to like love and be abundant. And like, when you're like in a negative spot, you're being catty, you're not being as like nice as you can be, like, you're literally, your body energy changes. Like, when you are showing up as like kind of like the unkind version, you can see it in your body. Like, you can see the way you actually move, and it's like horrible. Like, when you're being abundant and you're being loving and you're being all of those things, like, your body language even shows that.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why, again, going back to your weekend event, when you go to events like Christina's event that she's doing, like you're surrounded by the most amazing people and they love you the way you are. And it's so
100%.
nice when you get into that kind of an atmosphere and realize like we're all here for the same kind of growth and the same thing. And we all love each other. And it's like, you get to really allow yourself to be yourself. And then you realize like, you get how it feels. You're like, this is good. I want more of this. Right. And then it allows you to kind of trickle into the rest of your world. So I love that.
Just be. Hashtag just be.
Just be. I love it. If you guys are listening to this and you're loving this episode, I want you to screenshot this on your and screenshot the episode on your phone, share it in your Insta stories with the hashtag just be, and make sure that you tag Christina and I so that we can send you some love back. Because I just think that there's so much value in what's going on here today. And then I want to touch on this one because I think this one's really big. This is one of the questions on here. This is not what I thought my life would look like. Can you go a little deeper on that one for us?
Yeah, I remember I was literally like, I don't know, I've quote unquote failed Q school for my third year in a row. So Q school is in golf on the LPGA, like trying to get your full card to where you're on tour the whole time. And I remember quote unquote failing for the third year in a row because you get one shot per year to get your tour card. And I remember ironing at like 2:30 in the afternoon on like a Tuesday in our back bedroom. And I literally remember I've said this a bunch of times on talks and podcasts, but I remember ironing at 2:30 in the afternoon on Tuesday. And I said out loud, this was not my life. Like, this was not the plan. Like, how in the world did this happen? And it was really at that moment, I think it was kind of like quote unquote my rock bottom. A lot had like led up to that, but like it was kind of like my rock bottom moment that I was like, this is not what the plan was. And I allowed myself to get in those situations. I didn't have the tools at the time to understand that like it were my choices and that my mindset had gotten me to the place that I'm at. I understand that everything happens for a reason and it happened to me. And thankfully I was able to get myself out of the situations that I was in. And I totally don't have it all together, but I'm like, please, no, you should see me. But at the same time too, I have now been able, I have more tools in my belt on how to get myself back. And now I truly know that I'm living my absolute, like I just have like this inner peace. Like it's a shit show sometimes.
Yeah. But it's still, yeah.
But overall, like I'm exactly where I need to be, even if it just doesn't make sense in the moment. And even if it's like totally overwhelming, I also know too that like I'm in just the perfect place. And I think that, you know, if you were telling yourself, like, if you're like, how in the world did I get here? And yet you're not willing to take action to get yourself out, you're going to stay there for a while. And, you know, like a couple of my coaching clients, you know, I have a lot of them, and there's one or two that I've had to kind of be like, you know what, I just don't think you're ready right now. Like, and it's okay, because you may not be ready right now. And when you're ready, you'll be like, all right, I'm ready to take action on this. And sometimes you just have to sit and be like, oh, the world hates me. But really, it's actually, you can get out of that world hates me. Everything is abundant.
Yes. And I always talk about the feather, the brick, and the Mack truck. It's like the feather starts telling you, maybe this isn't for you. And you get little messages, and then the brick is like, it's hitting you a little bit harder. Maybe there's something more major that's happened in your life that's trying to tell you that this isn't what you're meant for. And then there's the Mack truck, which is usually the rock bottom moment where you're like, I can't, like, it's something that's, pretty intense and major, and you don't want the Mack truck. You want to listen to the feather. You want to start like making some changes and working on getting out of that, when the feather starts tapping you, because the things just get worse.
One of our speakers at the event she's actually going to talk about, she's a doctor of physical therapy. Her name is Doc Jen Fit on Instagram.
Yeah.
And Jen is actually going to talk about how when we truly aren't listening to ourselves, how that manifests in us. And typically it manifests as in a sickness. And I know so many people who have gotten out of sickness after they've been sick, and they're like, oh my God, oh my God, I did that. That happened. Like I caused that. And I am one of those people. For years, I had stomach problems. For years, my back was out all the time. It was because I was manifesting that pain within myself and not listening to myself. And the universe kept hitting me. And finally, it was like, you aren't listening. Get on the floor.
Yeah, right. That's the thing. You don't want that Mack truck. And I do believe that in life, when we're not living our authentic life, or not living our purpose, and we're feeling that negative feelings, and we're going to work every day and we're feeling negative, that manifests within our body. That's your joint pain, your back pain, your headaches, there's so many different things that can manifest internally when we're not living in like in a positive place that's like where we should be. You know what I mean? And I truly believe that too. And one of the other things I was going to say is, when you were talking about the ironing and knowing the day and the time and what you were doing in that moment, those to me are that's the moment in time where you're going down a road and then all of a sudden there's like the split and it goes into two. And it's like that moment is where you're sitting there looking at those two roads. And it's like, you remember every detail about it because that's the moment where you take the different path, and it changed, like life changed for you in that moment. And I have, I remember those moments, in my own life where it's like, I remember that every detail, the smell in the air, all the things. And it was like, that's the moment I made a different choice and I decided to make the change. So I love that. So if people were to, want to show up at this event and do all the things, where are they going to go to get the tickets and all the stuff? Let's talk about that.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Well, first of all, I talk about it pretty much every day on my Instagram. So I'm Christina, BeChristina. The website is decideitsyourturn.com. And I would love to be able to offer your listeners a discount. Shayna's discount is discount 50. So discount 50. That'll save you on the ticket there. And it's a very reasonably priced event for a 3-day VIP party, celebrity-led workouts. I have, we're announcing that. Just even go to the website and get on our email list. We announce something each week. I'm one of those people that kind of go all in for value. I'm sure that Chris will next week will tell me, he's like, you're doing what for what? Why are you doing that? That was the same thing I did for my mastermind last year. Like I told my assistant, she's like, hey, can we do this? I was like, yep, just do that. Just do that. No, it's no problem. Bring that in. And so, it's going to be an amazing weekend. Austin is such a fun city. It's one of the greatest cities. The weather should be epic in May. It should be beautiful for all you Canadians. It'll be like beautiful, mid 80s, low 90s, I'm sure. It's just going to be a great weekend. And overall, I mean, the hardest part is literally getting there. Once you're there, the universe takes care of the rest.
Absolutely. And I even think once you decide and buy the ticket, the rest will start to come into play. And, bring a friend, share the hotel room.
Yes.
Gosh, so many times have I done things where I'm like in a hotel room with 5 people just at the time is what I needed to do in order to get my ass there and learn the stuff. And that's what you got to do sometimes,
Well, get in our Facebook group, Decide It's Your Turn. Even join the Facebook group right now and just see the women that are there. I am definitely much more active on Instagram. So our community on Instagram is probably a little bit bigger than the Facebook group is at this point in time, but get in the Facebook group. I know there's girls in there who have connected. They're doing each other's podcasts and, and a lot of the people, and don't think that this just has to be business, because definitely my passion is definitely the mindset, but will level up businesses because there's people kicking ass and taking names, but also too, just the connections, the leveling up of friends. You know how many women I hear in their like late 20s, 30s, and 40s that are like, hey, the friends that I hang out with are no longer serving me. How do I find those people? You find those people by going to events like these, because the people that go to these events are not your low vibe people. They are people who are willing to show up for themselves and show up for others. And it's so important. So decideitsyourturn.com, follow me on social media, use the discount 50. Shayna will put that in the show notes. And
well, they say you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. So it's time to take inventory and take a look at those things. And that's why you do these kinds of things and join these kinds of masterminds and do this kind of personal development. Because like, for me, it's like, I never want to be the smartest person in the room. I want to be around people who are inspiring me to do more and to grow and to like make better decisions and make those adjustments in my life so that I can feel more fulfilled. Yeah, have more things. Yeah, it's great to make more money and do all that stuff, but it's also about feeling like you're doing something that is right for you, you know? And it's like,
Absolutely.
you just got to be in the room to be able to get that moment. I always say, you know, my network marketing business, when you have the big conferences and stuff, it's like, I can't bring the aha moment back for you. You have to be in the arena to get that moment. And so if you want a moment like that, you got to get your ass in the chair. So,
oh, I love it. I love it. I cannot wait for you to share these clips because they're just brilliant. Like you, oh my God, so good. Will you get on my Insta and just talk about that? Because it's so true. I can only say it so many times, but it is 100% the true real life statement. And once you kind of start doing it, you're going to like be a part of like the cult too, because it's just like, yes, you have to do it. You know, whether it's network marketing, business, self-development, relationships, whatever the thing is, you just have to be willing to do it. And I'm just so passionate about it because it had 180 changed my life dramatically, but nothing else besides investing in myself heavily has changed my life. I mean, it really is a true statement. And, you know, just connecting with you, like this doesn't happen just randomly. This was an actual taking action. You and I both took action. Chris and Lori took action to make that happen. Like everyone's having to take action to make things happen. And once you take action, the universe then just takes care of everything else. So I can't wait to see you next week and actually in real life.
I know, in LA, it's one of my favorite places. Well, and the thing is when you go to these kinds of things and you change and you level up and you have all this energy, guess what? You get to come home and then rub that off onto other people and help change other people's lives. And it's all about service, right? The more people you serve, the better everything is. And so go have the life-changing event, feel good, come home and share that and let that radiate off of you and impact other people in your life. You just don't know where it's going to take you.
And those people in your life could be your kids and your spouse.
Yes.
Like it doesn't have
100%.
to be like, I mean, my relationship with my husband was always good. My relationship with my husband now is unbelievable. Knock on wood. Thank you, Jesus, because I am a different human being. By me being a different human being, it's allowed him to be his highest version. He'll send me podcasts. He spends time, an hour every Saturday morning reading the books and sending me the texts and doing these things now. And like, it's amazing because, you know, I haven't had to push it on him. It's just been by osmosis. I just am showing up as a different person. So he's like, this is a thing. I want to do that thing.
Yeah. Well, they notice how you're smiling more. You have better energy. You look like you're radiating when you're feeling good in a positive place. And that attracts people. And it's the same, like my husband's the same too. He's like totally leveled up. We're on the same page. I'm going away for 4 days next week on my own. He's like totally cool with it. Like learn as much as you can, babe, bring it all back. Like all the stuff.
I love it.
With the kids, like this morning I drove them to school and I'm listening to an audiobook and I'm like, we're listening to my audiobook this morning. And like, they didn't care, not a peep. They listened just as much as I did. And I'm like, you know, like they're taking it in, you know, so it does rub off in all the best ways. So Christina, this was amazing. I'm just so grateful for your time and I'm so grateful for the discount for your event. And I'm going to put all the stuff in all the spaces and places. So go to shanarecker.com, go to the podcast section, the show notes. It's all going to be there. It'll be in the notes on iTunes. And I can't wait to hear, well, one, I can't wait to see you next week. And then two, I can't wait to see your event and, you know, hear about how amazing it was. And just thank you so much.
Well, there's a ticket with your name on it if you want it.
Oh my God. This is so funny. Last year I did not very much traveling. This year I feel like I'm traveling every month between now and like November.
That's awesome. Good for you.
But it's good. It is definitely good.
Dive in. Awesome.
So I will, I just can't wait to share you with everybody. You gave such great tips and thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And if you guys are listening to this and you're super inspired by what we're saying, please share it on Instagram. We love giving you guys shout outs and thank yous and all the things. So, thank you so much for being here. And, I look forward to seeing you next week.